Hello and welcome back to my garden, specifically the vegetable garden. We haven't been here in a while. We've been elsewhere in the garden. And right here in front of you is an entire bed of radishes. I think these are predominantly French breakfast. So it looks like something like this. And German giants. And these all pretty much look like they're ready to go. So I will be harvesting these today, but I'm not going to bore you with that. What I am going to do is show you where I'm going to plant my garlic, which is someplace new for me this year. Here in this space during the summertime and the springtime actually, I had quite a few things going on. I had liatris growing here in the back and a couple of very weak purple sensation alliums, which hopefully if they come up this year, they'll be much stronger or better looking. But the liatris, as always, a trooper and came up very well. Over in these two rows that maybe you can see them, I can barely see them. I had various squashes and what else did I have in here? Zinnia. I had zinnia. I just pulled all of that out. The zinnia was already going over. I probably could have kept it inching along a bit longer, but nonetheless, out it went. And over here you can probably see in frame I have what remains of sort of a failed experiment. I was hoping to grow Jack B. Littles right up this trellis here. And I was also hoping to grow cornucopia gourds up the trellis. They kind of grew. It was just a bad year for my squashes and gourds for various reasons. One of them was the weather, as I've mentioned before. But either way, somewhere in here in this space, I'm going to be planting garlic. I've never planted garlic directly in the ground. I know that sounds strange. I've always planted my garlic in a raised bed of some sort, whether it's a low raised bed or a tall raised bed. It's always been in a raised bed, never directly into the ground. But this year, I'm going to plant directly into the ground because it's something I've never done before, and why not? One of the things that I normally do with the in-ground beds is normally cover them up with weed cloth. I still have some pepper plants. I have my cotton plant over here, which is looking pretty awesome. Absolutely fun to grow this year. It's still going. It's still putting out cotton balls. It's going to continue to put out cotton balls. Probably right until the frost, maybe. I don't know. I've never grown cotton before. This is more of an ornamental variety. It has these lovely red stems and beautiful flowers, of course. So anyways, I'm getting distracted by the cotton plant. I would normally, or what I did last year was I ran the weed cloth that I normally put down over this space right up to the daylilies that I have along the fence. I'm not going to do that this year. This year I'm going to run right up to about this point. And the reason being is because I have the liatris, which I don't like to cover up with the weed fabric in case I'm late and taking up the weed fabric and it's trying to push itself up. And then I have the comfrey. So I have to do this weird jog, as it were, or have shorter pieces up to this point and then longer piece. It's a pain. So what I'm going to do this year is just bring it up to this point right here, basically this fence post. And I'm going to plant my garlic somewhere in here. And when all that stuff goes over, I don't know what I'm going to do with it as of this point. I just may cover it with cardboard or plant something else in there for the winter. I'm not sure, but I would need a suggestion for something that's cold hardy that can take a freeze or a frost, which right now I can't think of anything, so just make it covered over. I don't know. Still figuring things out here. But what I do know is I'm planting garlic today. And talk a little bit about this space real quick. If you guys remember, I started this space a couple of years ago, I believe. And this year, one of the things I did was I put down cedar mulch to help define the walking spaces. It's not something you have to do, but it's something I wanted to do. And I still have some leftover cedar mulch, so I think we're going to redefine or touch up the walkways. It also helps suppress the weeds a little bit. And I put down fresh compost, and this space has already had several applications of compost and cow manure, and the ground is really, it does really well. When we get heavy rains, even during a tropical storm, it drains pretty fast, which tells me that the space underneath my feet is getting deeper and deeper so far as good organic soil. I'm going to start prepping the space here and figuring out how I'm going to lay out this garlic. So as you may or may not know, I am a proponent of no dig. I do like the system, the theory behind it. There's all sorts of microorganisms and bacteria and all sorts of good things in the soil, and the less we disturb it, the less we disturb it, the better it is for the soil. So really all I'm doing here is just sort of raking this out a bit. There's also some various bits of debris here from the rotting leaves, which is fine because that can all stay here and rot down. It'll break down into the soil. It'll enrich the soil. Think of it as composting in place. One of the things I'm not going to do that many people would do in this instance though is rototill the ground. I don't want to, and I don't have to. I can take my finger, I can get it way past my knuckle. So that's really good soft soil, which is excellent for anything you plant in here. And as I add compost to these beds, the compost breaks down, it adds to the soil itself gets deeper, as it were, because underneath my feet here is a layer of silty clay. It's garbage. But I've been improving all the soil in this area for several years now. You can see how far I could get my finger down there. Just to give you a point of reference, if I went to the lawn right outside, I can't push my finger at all into the ground because the ground is so compacted. And you may be asking, did I rototill this space initially and then do the no dig on top of that? And the answer is no, I did not rototill. I don't own a rototiller, so I didn't rototill at all. All I did was put down the cardboard and then probably 6 to 8 inches of compost, raised bed mix, that kind of thing. Planted into that after that first year. That cardboard it's probably rotted down in the first 6 months with the heat and humidity we have down here. And then I just continued to apply compost, things like the cedar mulch here. This is all breaking down. And it's all adding organic matter to the soil, which is great. It all breaks down eventually, and it all adds to the soil, and it makes everything wonderful. I think what I'm going to do is, excuse me, Sophie, we're going to keep this bed like so. So this is going to be a 2-foot bed. All right. And I'm going based off of the stones, which I think you guys can see in shot. So each of the border edge stones are 2 foot. So that gives me a rough approximation. All right, and this side, I think we're going to do something similar. We're going to make the walkway a little wider. So we're going to make the walkway 2 foot. And Sophie, a pine cone. What we're going to do is we're going to leave the bed about 3 foot. If you're new to gardening, the other benefit of doing the whole no dig thing is, I mentioned improving the soil, but an improved soil, a good soil with a good organic matter in it, will retain moisture longer. And if your soil retains water longer, then you don't have to water as often. Does any of this make sense? I'm not an expert on this. If you doubt me on any of this, you have questions, go out, Google it. There are a ton of people out there on the interwebs who have done either scientific research into this, or they've learned from experience. Again, Charles Dowding. You got to go check this guy's channel out if you already haven't. He's done a lot of this experimentation and research, as it were, already. Let me put down some cedar mulch here, and then we're going to start planting. We're going to start with the label, and I'm going to start over here and use this thinner space here. I think I've got enough garlic here. You can't supervise, and you're walking on my bed. And just like flower bulbs, you're going to plant them with the flat side down, pointy side up. You seasoned gardeners all know this, but for a newbie, I hope this is focusing. That's the flat side, pointy side, pretty self-explanatory. I have a bunch now. I think I'm going to do them along this bed too. Yep. Now I'm going to do one more thing, and that is put a little bit of compost right on top of where I just planted. Charles Dowding would use his own homegrown compost, and you could do the same thing. Many of you actually probably already do if you're an experienced gardener. I'm an idiot, so there we go. I'm not even digging it into the beds. I'm just laying it on top. Yeah. And no fertilizing needed. I've just put compost on top of it, so it has nutrients in it. With a little luck, if all this survives, this is always the trick, we'll have 2 awesome rows here of garlic. The variety I planted today, I don't know if I mentioned, is California White. It's basically the stuff that you get in the supermarket. Nothing fancy. I do have fancier garlic, and I will be planting that later, not today. It's getting short and it's starting to get a little dark here, but we're not quite done yet. There's one more thing. I want to show you guys what I'm going to try with my garlic this year. So let's go take a look at that now. Okay, so in this pot here, I've just filled it with some potting soil, and now I'm going to plant. These are relatively small. Let me show you. Hopefully you can see that. 6 small garlic bulbs, cloves I should say. And the reason I'm doing this is because I saw a gentleman, what's that, Instagram, and he was planting his garlic in, actually I think he was doing 1 clove per pot, maybe? I think that's what he was doing. Either way, I asked him, hey, does that actually work for you? And he said, yes, it does. So I'm gonna give this a whirl. If they grow, that'll be fun. And if I can get any sort of good bulb out of them, that'll be even better. And I'm going to throw a label on it just so I remember what it is. And I'll water it and put it outside. Or put it outside and then water it. Did I mention my carrots are growing? This bed that we planted up, a couple of weeks ago I think, carrots are growing nicely, and if all goes as planned, I should be harvesting probably December, maybe even January, again depending upon how the weather goes and how these guys grow. But they are growing. So far, so good. I'm pretty happy. And so is Sophie, because she likes carrots. Actually, anything that crunches, it doesn't matter. So, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. If you haven't checked out the links below, please check out the links below. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Click that bell icon to be notified when I do post up a new video, because I still have quite a bit of more garlic to plant. I still have more carrots to sow. I still have... there's so much stuff to do. Honestly, I take things off the list and I put them right back on the list, or I put other things on the list. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. I think that's going to wrap it up for today. Squirrel. We're going to catch you on the next one. Bye-bye. Go get it, Sophie.